My uncle stole our family land. I spent years planning the perfect payback. Munich, Germany, revenge story. Some betrayals cut deeper than money or status. When family betrays you, it feels like a piece of your soul gets ripped away. I grew up just outside Munich in a quiet Bavarian village. My father owned a modest piece of farmland. Nothing huge, but it had been in our family for generations. Apple trees, a small vineyard, and a little farmhouse that my grandparents had built by hand. When I was a kid, I thought it would always be ours. I imagined raising my own children there someday. But life has a way of crushing your naive dreams. The day everything changed. When I was 15, my father passed away suddenly from a heart attack. It hit my mother and me like a freight train. We were grieving, barely able to think straight. That's when my Uncle Carl stepped in. Carl was my father's older brother. Charming, smooth-talking, the kind of man who always seemed to know better. He told my mother he'd help handle the paperwork and protect the family assets. In our grief, we trusted him. 3 months later, I overheard a conversation between my mother and the mayor. My uncle had transferred the title of the land into his name. I confronted my mother, but she broke down crying. She said Carl claimed my father had left debts and that selling the land to him was the only way to keep it in the family. But we both knew it wasn't a sale. It was a theft, the powerlessness. At 15, I couldn't do much. I had no legal knowledge, no money, and no way to challenge him. Carl moved into the farmhouse, started renting out parts of the land to other farmers, and made a tidy profit. We were left in a tiny apartment in Munich, paying rent while he made money off the home that should have been ours. Every time we visited the village for festivals, I'd see him smiling in front of our house, bragging about his hard work to the neighbors. It made my blood boil. That's when I made myself a silent promise. One day, I take it back. The long game. I decided I would study law. Not just any law, property and inheritance law in Germany. If Carl wanted to play legal games, I'd learn to beat him at them. It wasn't easy. I worked part-time jobs, took out loans, and studied relentlessly. Every case I read, every lecture I attended, I thought of Carl's smug face. During university, I quietly started collecting every document I could find about my father's estate. Old tax records, property deeds, even witness statements from neighbors who remembered my father talking about leaving the land to me. By the time I graduated, I had a file thick enough to crush someone, both figuratively and literally. The first strike. I waited until Carl made his first big mistake. He decided to sell a section of the vineyard to a developer without telling the local council. In Bavaria, certain agricultural lands have strict protections. You can't just sell them for construction without permission. That was my opening. I filed a formal complaint with the council, using my legal credentials. This triggered an investigation. And while they were digging into that, I filed my own lawsuit, claiming fraudulent transfer of property due to manipulation during a period of grief. The court battle. Carl was blindsided. He thought I'd moved on with my life. The first time we faced each other in the Munich courthouse, his smile was gone. The trial lasted over a year. He hired expensive lawyers, but I knew the law inside and out. I presented evidence of my father's original will, testimonies from neighbors, and proof that Carl had lied about the debts. The turning point came when I produced a signed letter from my father, found in an old family photo album, stating his wish that the land remain in my name after he passed. The verdict. The court ruled in my favor. The land transfer to Carl was declared fraudulent. Not only did I get the property back, but Carl was ordered to pay financial damages for the profit he had made off the land for over a decade. When the judgment was read, I looked over at him. His face was pale, his jaw tight. I didn't smile. I just stared back, letting him feel the weight of every year we'd been cheated. The aftermath. Taking back the land wasn't just about property. It was about dignity, justice, and keeping a promise I'd made to my younger self. Carl sold his car to pay part of the damages. He still lives in the village, but now he walks past the farmhouse knowing he'll never step foot inside again. My mother cried when I handed her the keys. We stood in the kitchen, sunlight streaming through the same windows she and my father had once stood by, and she whispered, "You brought him home." The lesson. Sometimes revenge isn't quick. Sometimes it's a long, patient game that takes years of preparation. But when the moment comes and you take back what's yours, there's no sweeter feeling in the world. And for Carl, the land is mine, the profit is mine, and his power over us is gone forever. If you like this story, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more true tales of betrayal and ultimate payback.